Today we're going to be putting an Android head unit in this 2012 Chevy Silverado. Now I did buy this with my own money. It's a Junsun brand and I might not be pronouncing that right, but I'll put a link down in the description for you guys so you can check it out. It is a 2 gig RAM model with 64 gig ROM, and we're going to walk through what you get in the box, and then we're going to show you the installation, and then after that we'll walk through some of the features of the radio. So without further ado, let's take a look at what you get in the box. So I already have everything unboxed, and in the box you get the head unit itself, as well as the CAN bus with all of the connectors you need to connect it to the vehicle, an audio video plug to give you all of the connections for that, as well as an external microphone, a USB retention harness for vehicles that have factory USB, and if they don't, they provide these two plugs, as well as an additional power adapter because this is made for several different vehicles. They included a rear view camera kit if you don't have a backup camera already, as well as a plastic pry tool, a GPS antenna, as well as a door chime, and then you get an adapter for your antenna so you can connect that up, and then they provide these two harnesses for retention of your factory backup camera, as well as to connect the one that they provided. And then they provide some extra hardware here if you need that. Now before we get started, the tools required, you're going to need the plastic pry tool, a 7 and 10 millimeter socket, as well as a ratchet to use the sockets with. Now before you start this, you want to make sure you disconnect the battery on your vehicle. I didn't do that because we're not connecting any wires here. Everything is plug and play. And so for me, it was just easier, and because we're not splicing anything or connecting anything that could cause any damage, in my opinion, I opted to not disconnect the battery. But by all means, just for your safety, I would disconnect the battery. I am not going to be held liable for anybody damaging their vehicles, so you've been warned. After you get your battery disconnected, we just need to take our plastic pry tool that was included in the box with the head unit and work our way around the center console trim here. And so there's just clips that hold this piece in, and you just need to take your time and work your way around the edges. And then we're going to put the vehicle in gear, and you need to move the shifter all the way to the bottom in order to get that last clip out that's on the left-hand side closest to the steering wheel. Once you get that unhooked, you can reach back and you can go ahead and disconnect your USB port if you have one, your 12-volt accessory, and then your 4-wheel drive selector switch. And that should be it. It should be everything you need to disconnect in order to get this trim piece out and removed. And then just for your guys' information, this is what it looks like with all the ports disconnected, just so that you guys get a better view of what this looks like. Next, we need to remove the heater control before we can actually remove the radio, and that is because the bracket that's connected to the heater control, as you can see here, is overlapping the bottom of the bracket of the radio. So it's just two 7 millimeter bolts that are holding the heater control in, and we will go ahead and get those removed, and then we will take out the 4 7 millimeter bolts that hold the radio in place. Now I'm not going to disconnect any of the wiring that goes to the heater control. I'm merely just taking out the hardware to get access to the radio. Once you have that done, all you need to do is disconnect the 3 plugs on the back of the radio, as well as the plug for the factory radio antenna. And then just to give you a better view, this is what it looks like when it's disconnected. So these are the 3 plugs as well as the factory antenna. So to hook up the external mic, what I ended up doing was I took the bolt out of the A-pillar here, I pulled this down and I ran this wire through here, but behind the airbag so it wouldn't interfere with anything there in the event there was an accident. And then I ran the wire through here. I'm gonna run it down the A-pillar and then down behind the fuse panel here, and then I'm gonna run it along the bottom of the dash and then up into the actual radio cavity here. So next I'm going to go ahead and set up the wiring, and for that it's really easy. It's just plug and play. So it's not color coded. As you can see, I just plugged a yellow factory cable into a black plug, but they only fit into one spot, and that is the exact same on the back of the radio itself. So all of the plugs on the back of the radio are white, but they're all different sizes and they only have one spot that they can actually plug into. Now I'm doing this right now instead of putting the mounting bracket on the radio because you have way more room to work with doing it this way, and I want to test fit everything and make sure everything's hooked up right and working properly, and then I will install the mounting bracket and then just run all the wiring through the mounting bracket and hook it back up to the back of the radio. So at first glance, it looks like everything's working fine as the unit did boot up properly. It did come preloaded with some music and some videos, but due to copyright, I'm not going to be able to play the sound in the video, but just know that everything did function properly as I tested it here in the video. So now that I know that everything is working, I'm going to go ahead and turn it off and then disconnect all the wiring from the back of the head unit itself. I'm going to connect the mounting bracket and then reinstall the heater controls. But two things that we didn't hook up yet was the GPS antenna as well as the actual door chime for the vehicle that we have to hook up to this new radio because we can't use the factory door chime. They both have 3M tape on the back of them, so I'm going to go ahead and stick them to the back of the radio cavity here, and then I'm going to run the wiring through the mounting bracket and get that hooked up. And once that's all done, we will hook everything back up to the back of the radio and then retest it again before we put the dash back together. Now that that's all done, we can go ahead and put all the wiring into the dash. We're going to do that by carefully just putting it through the mounting bracket, ensuring that nothing comes disconnected. Now before we actually mount the head unit to the mounting bracket, we want to go ahead and turn the ignition on and verify that everything is working so that we don't have to take anything back apart to hook up something that may have come loose while we were putting the wiring behind the dash. At this point, as long as everything checked out, we can start our reinstallation. So we need to go ahead and lower the shift lever, and then we can hook up our 12-volt accessory, our USB port if we have one, and any other cabling that we disconnected from the back of the trim piece that we removed previously. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and just lift this up, and then you want to be careful. So we need to put the head unit through the dash kind of diagonally first, and then we can go ahead and clip and lock this in place. Now it was actually harder than I expected to do with just one hand, so I got someone to help me really quick just to make sure that I got this dash panel put back in correctly. Once we get the dash put back in place, we can go ahead and just firmly press on the head unit to get it locked into the actual mounting bracket. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and review the head unit itself. So right now we have everything just kind of test fitted. I haven't put the truck back together entirely yet, but you'll see that we are up and running. The radio works. I have a flash drive plugged in right here in the USB port, and you'll see that we're going to play a movie. And that works too, so you can see Click through it. Right out of the box, you have a web browser, Bluetooth file manager, you have the Google Play Store, maps, and it comes preloaded with some apps so you can do different themes, car information and settings for your CAN bus, AV in. Z-Link 5 is going to be what you use for your Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And we are connected to Wi-Fi though, as you can see right here. And for the most part, everything is pretty snappy despite this model only having 2 gigs RAM.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the new waveform quad program, and we're going to be comparing them directly to the original waveform for email and seeing if there are any kind of differences with the brand. Now waveform was nice enough to send this over to us for review, so I want to take time to thank them for doing it.
Settings is like a standard Android tablet for the most part. They've removed a lot of stuff though, so I don't have any accounts loaded on here yet. But if we go to System and then About Device, we can see that we're running Android version 13, and then if we select CAN Update, that is how we can update the CAN bus for the vehicle. And so it's going to automatically check because we are connected to Wi-Fi, and then all we have to do is select this update button here. Now it's going to automatically download that file as well as install it. Once that's done, we can go ahead and click the back button here in the upper left-hand corner. And then if we wanted to try and update the device, we're going to click Wireless Update. Now you'll see here at the bottom that it automatically checks and it says there's not an update, but if for whatever reason it didn't do that, you can select the button here in the bottom center to manually check for an update. And again, you'll see that there are no updates available. If we go back to the Android settings menu and then select car settings, this is where you can change all of the settings that are specific to the radio, similar to the settings that would be like on your factory radio. Now, I'm not going to read all of these for you, but I will scroll through these so that you can see what the options are within this settings menu. And then when we get to the factory tab, the password for that is going to be 6 zeros. As previously mentioned, the device does support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, both wirelessly and via USB cable. However, this is not my device connected to the unit, so I don't want to go through it, but I did want to show you that it does work. One last thing I wanted to let you guys know, if you get this all installed and your steering wheel controls do not work, don't worry. As long as you have all the wiring hooked up properly, there's just one thing that you need to do in order to get this working. So you want to look at your CAN bus box, and the one that I received was a SimpleSoft brand. The CAN bus box looks like this, and then you can see what it is by the sticker. So on mine you can see here it says SimpleSoft. So we're going to go into the car settings, and then from there we're going to click on factory. You're going to punch in your code, so 6 zeros for this particular model. And then we're going to go to the car type settings here at the top. And this is where you can set the CAN bus depending on the vehicle you have. So if you don't have a Silverado, again, you can install this in many different vehicles. We're going to select SimpleSoft from the left-hand side here. And then all you're going to do is find your vehicle. So we want Chevrolet. and then you're going to scroll down and find the correct model year and model for the vehicle that you installed this in. So in my case, I'm going to pick the XP09 because we are putting this in a 2012 Chevy Silverado. Once we've selected all of that and saved it and backed out, the steering wheel controls should work. And as you can see here, everything is working properly now. I really hope this video was helpful to help you determine whether or not this is something that you would like to pick up for your Silverado. Now, if you have any questions about this process, the installation, or just the radio in general, feel free to hit me up down in the comments and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. But that's about all I have for this one, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.